Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I interview inspiring, fascinating women who are navigating aging with class and sass. I'm your host, Nicole Christina. So today we have a real treat. Hélène Stelian, who is a certified life coach and author, a blogger, a speaker, and a mom to twin girls. And she's an expert in the area of finding one's purpose and reinventing oneself in middle age. Welcome, Hélène.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm so happy to be here this morning.
Thank you. I'm very excited to talk to you because one of the things I find as a psychotherapist is women, they start approaching a certain age and they're stumped.
Mm-hmm.
These are women who are bright, successful, they're really competent in every other aspect, and they come in and they say, I'm lost. I don't know what to do now. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's a very common theme that I hear as well, and a lot of us do get stuck in midlife. And, you know, I myself really resonate with that because that's kind of where I found myself. So if you want, I can tell you a little bit about my background and kind of how I got into really in-depth interviewing of women who have found themselves stuck and then decided they really needed to make a change in midlife. And for my part, after college, I worked in business, got an MBA, found myself quite unhappy and burned out after, I would say, about a decade in corporate America. And it was interesting because after I got married and gave birth to my twin daughters, I was just so grateful to have the chance to be able to stay at home with them and walk away from my job, which I did not like. And raising twin daughters was really the first time I felt a deep sense of purpose, of passion. And then I also, on the side, was published a book and was an active community volunteer. But as so happens, when your purpose is raising your children do grow up. And when our girls were entering high school, sort of a lot of things happened at once. My daughters were pushing me away, saying, "Okay, we are not your
Project.
your project anymore." Exactly. At the same time, we moved. So we moved from the suburbs of Chicago, where we'd lived for 13 years, back to the city of Chicago. So that was a lot of turmoil and transition. And I was turning 50 and looking toward the empty nest. And honestly, I felt exactly what you're describing. I felt bored. I felt lost. I felt very stuck. And I struggled with that, with the unknown. And I did a lot of self-reflection, a lot of therapy, a lot of reading. And actually, I have some favorite books on midlife. And the one probably that resonated the most with me is called Life Reimagined by Barbara Haggerty. So I highly
Yes.
recommend that one.
I talk about her in the course,
Oh,
and in
my
fact,
goodness.
one of the things that I talk about with volunteering with people when I'm teaching is the story where she brings her dog to the hospital to volunteer. Do you remember
Yes,
this?
yes.
And it was such a poor fit, even though she was really good at it, that the dog didn't even want to come out of the elevator.
Yeah.
After a while. Yeah.
And it's very funny because I had a similar experience when my daughters were a little younger, and our dog is not at all suited for this. He's very scared of everything, and we tried taking him to a nursing home, and it was a bit of a disaster. So that did not work out either. But anyway, in all this process of sort of trying to figure out what am I going to do next, I'm so stuck. I talked to a lot of women who also were struggling around this time of their lives. So it's really so common. But then again, I talked to others who had successfully navigated this midlife transition and found just that they had so many years ahead of them, and they had found renewed meaning and purpose in their lives, and were doing something they were really excited about talking about. And it was very energizing for me to see, okay, so here there's a bunch of us who are kind of stuck, and look at all these women who've figured it out, and how can I bring the two together? And that's when I decided to launch my blog, Next Act for Women, which is where I interview women who have successfully reinvented at 40 or later. And then after a year of blogging, I really felt like it's great to write about this, but how can I take a more active role in helping women? And I became certified as a life coach and work now, with one-on-one with clients and groups, and to give I do a lot of research on workshops and love writing workshops and giving them. And I really just have a keen sense of understanding and I think passion around helping women who feel stuck in midlife find and create a life of purpose and meaning for themselves. So it's a common refrain, and I'm here to tell you there's a hope there's hope here. There are a lot of us who've been through this and who have navigated this successfully, and it's really it can be a wonderful time of life, creating a new future for yourself.
That's wonderful. And I was thinking as you were talking, this is such important work. When you're, it really is transformative when you have someone at this stage and they're just lost and they're maybe frustrated and they feel, unmoored, and then you help them. It's profound.
I agree. It really is. And you're really meeting people at a very difficult time in their life because, when I teach about midlife and about finding purpose, I talk about sort of some of the challenges and opportunities of midlife, and think about sort of the perfect storm of events that happen around midlife. You've got a lot of family stressors. You're caring typically for both teenagers, if you've got kids, as well as aging parents. So this is why they call us the sandwich generation. You're looking to or experiencing the empty nest as your kids leave home. And honestly, marital strain is also very common, as you know. And then there's like work and money stressors. Sometimes we've been in a job for a long time and we may feel bored, or we may find as we get older that it just gets harder to advance in our jobs. And then there's financial money strain with, worries about retirement at the same time as we're needing to help often with college tuition payments. And that's, now we're talking about all of our body changes, our new discovered physical limitations we may experience. We have an increased risk of illness. We're going through menopause. There's just a lot of stuff. And that's not even, like, to me, one of the biggest things that precipitates sort of a mini crisis of midlife, which is different than what people think of as the midlife crisis, which is truly a myth. But it's really a question of identity. And when they talk about empty nest syndrome, it really has to do with a crisis of identity, which is, who am I? What's next for me? And we're dealing with sort of regret about things we didn't do and understand we may never get to do, boredom, confusion, fear. And we wonder, is this all there is? And where do I belong now? So there's a lot of stress, a lot that comes together in midlife that you could think, whoa, this, how am I going to get through all this? This is just a lot to tackle.
I find too, just to add on another little piece of that, if you have daughters, they are fully blooming into womanhood as we are starting to droop, and literally and figuratively. And I think that causes, mixed feelings. Of course you want to see your children, blossom, but it makes it holds it in a very high relief that, wow, that's not where I am anymore.
Right. There, as they are sort of, peeking into womanhood, you're feeling some loss with the, some of the ways you feel about your body, going through menopause. So it's kind of ironic that you end up going through this at the same time, right? And I have twin daughters, who are 20 years old, so I'm very familiar. This definitely was the truth in my household.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the good news is that there's a lot of opportunity around midlife. So I also like to point that out because all is not dark.
Yes, indeed.
By midlife we have so much strength and wisdom. I mean, we are so much better equipped to deal with whatever life throws at us. And I like to say that the real opportunity here is not simply to power through midlife, just get through it, but to kind of do the work that we need to do that's going to allow us to craft a really fulfilling second adulthood, because there's really now this whole concept of this second adulthood now. Once your kids leave home, you've got several decades ahead of you. You're not in old age. You're not
Mm-hmm.
retiring. There's a real opportunity here for you to carve out the life that you want after a lot of your caregiving duties start to recede. And it's a real opportunity as a coach, and I'm sure as a therapist, you work on helping people sort of discard the old stories that aren't serving them anymore and let go of
Mm-hmm.
the old struggles that are keeping them stuck, and really get clear on who you are and what you want moving forward. So it's interesting. There's really a shift in midlife, I think, from a focus on sort of external success to a focus on
Mm-hmm.
really finding that inner core meaning, that new definition of who you are, in a real authentic way.
Hey there! More of the interview in just one moment. Now it's time for a quick shameless plug for my Zestful Aging web course and my newsletter, Breathe, Taste, Savor. Hop on over to NicoleChristina.com/zestful aging to find out more. Now back to the show. I'm wondering, as I said earlier, I have some people who just really don't even know where to start. And this is, I've been asking my guests, how would you describe sort of the very first step? I'm curious, like when you are talking to people about finding their purpose, where do you start?
Yeah, so purpose, just to give you a little background, and for people who may think, because sometimes you say the word purpose and people think it's a very loaded word, and does it have a religious connotation? Is it, what does it really mean? And I like to say, it's really the answer to the question why. Why am I here? Why do I matter? And we all want to matter. And purpose is hugely important because it's been shown to be critical to happiness. I mean, it really
Mm-hmm.
is a way to provide direction in your life and help us feel like we have meaning. And the research is clear on this. I mean, people who have a stated life purpose are healthier, live longer, have much lower risk of diseases, depression. There's great research out there that shows this. So, and to me, that really makes sense because when you're connected to something larger than yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you're more hopeful, you're more positive, and you're really better able to cope with life's challenges and transitions. And so when I start working with somebody, I teach that purpose is really created at the intersection of four critical elements: values, strengths, interests, and service. So what I help my clients do to start is get clear on who they are. Sort of what
Mm-hmm.
values do you stand for? That really the compass that guides your life. And that may be very different than what you might have answered at age 20. So it's really important to take stock and take that time for yourself and I help people with some exercises, figure out sort of what do you stand for? What is important to you beyond anything else? And secondly, then I help people own their strengths. And it's particularly interesting with women, how challenging that can be, honestly. We don't
I
spend a lot of
imagine.
time, thinking about what am I really good at? It's just
Mm-hmm.
not something. We're always so other focused, and I really help women be able to own them, be able to say, this is what I'm good at, and I am proud of this. And it could be some natural abilities, or it could be learned skills. But let's put them out there, and let's shout them from the rooftops, and let's really
Mm-hmm.
own those strengths. And then you take a look at interests. And I used to say passions, but I feel like some there's a lot of pressure around the word passion. You got to find your passion, and
It
it's a
sounds
low,
so big.
it's so big, and a lot of us won't have necessarily a passion. That just, you think of a passion as this is something I want to do 12 hours a day, or so instead I say, what are you interested in? Where do you enjoy putting your time and energy? What do you like doing or thinking about?
Is that a challenge for folks who have been these sort of stellar caretakers? And you say, what are you interested in?
Yes,
They
yes, it is.
say,
It is
don't
a
know.
challenge. Yeah, I don't know, but you know what? This is where when you've got to ask the right questions, and even thinking about what books do you like to read, or what perks your interest on the news, or sort of really getting more aware. And I teach that awareness is really the first step in any of this, and so you've just got to become more aware. If you're really out of touch, if you're really not able to tell me what you're interested in, then we need to spend some time allowing you to become aware of how your energy flows during the day. So, for instance, one of the exercises I give, which I recommend to everyone, is to sort of track your energy. And by that I mean, what is energizing you and what's draining you throughout the day. So let's say you have lunch with a friend and you walk away just feeling down about yourself. Well, that's a draining person in your life. Let's say you watch, a documentary and you're just riveted. Well, was energizing for you. Let's say you take a walk outside in nature and you just feel so peaceful and wonderful. Well, that's an energizing thing for you. So really sort of see throughout your day and your schedule, sort of what things you're doing, the people you're meeting, the places you're going, and what brings your energy up, and what brings your energy down, and what may be energy neutral.
Have you heard Martha Beck's description of this,
Oh,
which I
no.
think is really brilliant? She talks about shackles on and shackles off.
Ah,
So that what you feel is exactly what you're saying, just put a little bit differently, that you feel a sense of expansiveness. So when you're sitting with somebody who's energizing, you may not feel that exactly, but you feel the shackles are off and that
mm,
there's an ease, right? and
yes,
then um, and
yes,
then what you were describing is, oh, that's not working for me. It's a tightness,
yeah,
and that idea that the shackles are on.
I
So i
love
think that's
that.
i think that's such a beautiful way to talk about the energy, because it's so fundamental.
Yes, no,
And
I agree. I love that
uh,
that metaphor. It really does capture it, because it is that kind of heaviness of the drain, or that sort of peace and expansiveness of when your energy is high.
yeah.
So yeah. Um, and then the last piece of purpose, which I work with people on, is really to honor their call to service. And again, this is another one that can be loaded, but whatever you're doing, thinking of it in a way that honors that you are doing, you're contributing in some way to society, is very empowering and has been shown to lead to a lot more satisfaction and fulfillment. So whether it's you're contributing to your family, to your community, to the country, to a cause of the world, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be huge. It's just honoring the fact that what you're doing is also helping. So that's the service piece is just so intrinsic to what purpose is about, that I always help people frame things in a way that they can see how their life matters, not just to themselves, but to so many others. And so it's
Mhm.
really sort of clarifying those four elements that leads you to purpose. And I guess if I were going to say what's one thing you can start with, it's really just to raise your awareness about these dimensions. Raise your awareness. Think about, oh, what does this say about me? That I'm really enjoying this, or that my energy is really low now, or just start to get in touch with more in touch with what you're feeling and thinking throughout the day, as a first step toward just that increased awareness that's going to help you understand yourself a little bit better, which is really the first step toward making a change, or even just making a movement forward out of a place where you're stuck.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. And I wonder too about suspending judgment. You know, that you might be thinking you should be interested in something because, it's good for you or you're that kind of person or want to be, but indeed you really don't like it at all. And to be able to say, I'm just not a camper.
No,
I wish
no.
I were my friends, whatever. I am, that just doesn't work for me, and to be able to be okay with that.
Yes, I mean, and that's another way in which you're really, are authentic. I mean, I have gone through this too. We like to ski once a year. I live in Chicago, but we go out west to ski, and for years and years, I would make myself ski downhill, and the boots hurt. I hated all the equipment, but we were on a ski vacation, and I just at one point just said, you know what? I just don't even really enjoy it anymore. And so I just said, I'm just not going to do it. And instead, I tried cross country skiing, and it's a lot more enjoyable for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was, and it's just being able to say, it's okay. I'm not a skier. So just from every little thing like that, being able to acknowledge who you are and what you enjoy. And in my 50s, I'm at the point where I think I have enough experience with at least some things to be able to say, to let go of things, because I think I should be joining my family down, skiing down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's there are, and we have, as women, we have so many shoulds, and we're so, you know, it can be a very tough thing to let go of expectations that we feel society, or family or others put on us. And it's a great time to really just be honest with yourself and with others about who you are and what you do and don't enjoy, and allow yourself a little bit of selfishness, to be able to say, it's okay, this is who I am. I can put myself first, because we've put everybody else first for so
Mm-hmm.
long, that
Mm-hmm.
just being able to say, this is my time. It can be a bit disruptive, just so people
Yes.
know. It could be very, it could be disruptive to,
Surprising.
the surprising to the family members who are like, whoa, mom's, not going to do this anymore. She's said, I'm not, you got to take care of this yourself now. Yeah, it's an interesting time. It kind of can rock, some people's world, and that's where you can get into issues too in your relationships. But it can also be, it's so freeing, and and just it feels really good.
And freeing, it's also the other side of it, I think, is if you don't do it and you pretend that it's okay, or that you're gonna just keep going in sort of the stale old roles. It's not a neutral. It's not like
Mm-mm.
nothing. Your body will speak to you.
Yeah.
There will be consequences of sort of staying in that old role. Do
Yes.
you see that as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I think there are. Yeah, I think, nobody want, I mean, we don't want to stay stuck. We don't want to, I mean, in some cases, actually, we do want to stay stuck because it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
It can be easier to stay with what's comfortable, what's familiar. And it takes bravery to step out of that and to declare yourself and to try new things and to meet new people and to get out of your comfort zone. It takes courage. It takes vulnerability, and that's difficult. But at the same time, it's to stay stuck just because it's more comfortable is just so draining and so discouraging, and just
I
can
see
really be.
deadening.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. It's just and people who've been in that stuck place for a long time, it's a very painful place to be. And I just so it's like, you want the pain of where you are and knowing that this is where you're going to stay, or do you want to take a risk and yeah, you might fall on your face a few times, but that's how you learn and that's how you grow. I'm a big fan of seeing failure as learning and reframing it that way, because that's how we grow in life, is by trying new things, maybe not succeeding all the time, maybe only doing it part way, but we learn something from it, and we might meet new people, and we might find new interests, and we might find a new side of ourselves we didn't know was there. So you got to get out there and just take, and it's all about baby steps. I really encourage people, and I know a lot has been written on this in various books about, you don't have to do anything dramatic. Just taking a small step in the direction of change, of trying something new, of, just whether I've always worn lots of black and gray and I'm going to try wearing a red shirt today. Or it's just a small step out of what's the norm for you can be just, just give you a little bit of courage, a little bit, oh, well, nobody, nothing horrible happened. And
Right.
then I can keep going and then just try the next thing. You don't have to have huge declaration of this is my new me and everybody either accept it or leave me alone, or, it just is, just try little
Experimentation.
things. Yeah.
And curiosity.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. Yeah. You know what I was thinking as you were talking about the four aspects and how you really help people little by little. I'm curious, just as sort of someone who thinks in terms of mind body a lot. I'm wondering, are you able to see them really change, even like the way they present themselves, or their, sort of how they hold themselves, how, as they're discovering, what do you notice about them on the outside?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I work with my clients mostly on the phone. So I actually don't get to see
The transformation.
outside, but I hear it in the voice. So that's, and as coaches, and as you know, so much is so evident in the way people speak, from the cadence to the volume of the voice, to the sense of confidence that grows, to the sense of, I am worth it. I mean, there's really, sounds sort of trite, and but there is I hear the difference. So I hear it in the voice, and of course I see it in the determination, in the movement forward, even if it's, again, baby steps. But you definitely, there is a shift. There is a shift in a woman who feels newly empowered. And it is a journey, but it's palpable.
Do you know that Margaret Mead quote about that there's nothing more powerful than a postmenopausal woman?
I do not, but I would agree. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I would agree. We have so much, we have so much power, and a lot of it is because we start to be able to let go of not just caring for other people, but also what other people think of us, And so that feeling of always having to measure up and not being worthy and not good enough, and that comparison to others, I don't know. I'm seeing it with myself and with my friends and my clients. It just, does it? You start to be able to just own yourself and not care so much if this person doesn't appreciate me or doesn't like me. It's okay. Like, to each their own. And I'm not going to be best friends with everybody, and I'm not going to please everybody. And I really, the most important person in this time of my life is me. And that's a very new feeling for so many of us who really have, like I said, put ourselves last so much of our lives.
And as we see that time has become more precious, we don't have the luxury of, saying, oh, who likes me, who doesn't, what are they going to think if I wear this, red sweater or whatever. I mean, I think things just become, there's a radical prioritizing that happens.
Yes.
As we
I
see,
Yeah.
we're starting to see, wait, there is an end to this thing.
Yeah.
So I better, yeah, I better
Well,
get going.
and I think that is the wake up call in midlife. I mean, especially as our parents pass away, we're the next to go. I
Hmm.
mean, we start to see the end, of the line here, and time accelerates. We feel like, boy, I like, we probably deal with some regrets over time wasted, whatever, the past. But we're like, we got to grab the present and we got to create our own future because we understand there are only so many, and even though we live so much longer now, on average till 80 in the US, um, we want to make the most of those years. We're, okay, this is my time, and how am I going to really live my life to the fullest? And how can I let go of the fears that have held me back from really expressing my authentic self and pursuing a purposeful life and really feeling like I am showing up every day as the best version of myself, and just very much driven by finding meaning and satisfaction in life. I don't know. I find it very powerful.
It certainly is. I mean, you're helping people live in a way that is so much richer and powerful. It's just beautiful to listen to, and your excitement about it. Do you have any particular little stories you want to tell about a client who has really taken this to heart and used your map and really sort of taken off with this
Well, it's interesting.
way?
I have one client who just really, really struggled with the death of her mother, and that was kind of the last. I don't know. It was, really, really knocked her out, and she was really grieving um, in a deep way, and so we worked through that, and it was interesting because she talked about how much she enjoyed being, even though it was such a hard time, being in the hospice environment and caring for her mother. And what we uncovered through our work together is that she wanted to be able to do for others what she had seen um, the hospice volunteers and nurses do for her mother. And she, interestingly enough, instead of sort of shying away from the whole hospice environment, became a hospice volunteer. And that just really sung for her. It really sort of pulled
Mm.
at her heart that she turned something that was so devastating for her into such an expression of gratitude and hopefulness in, not running away from death, but actually now showing up for other people who were going through what she had gone through. And oftentimes our own struggles inform our path, right? So for her, this particular sort of struggle in midlife ended up being what she wanted to do for others. That struggle was sort of the wake up call for her to see, I think I can help others get through this, and I can help in a hospice environment. And now she's working as a hospice volunteer, and then she's finding that very, very satisfying in midlife.
So sort of the piece about the empathy, like I really know what this is like. I
Yes,
really know
I've
what it
been through
feels
this.
like. Yeah,
Yeah,
and and now I know how important it is, and I want to be part of this for other people.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
lovely.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's really beautiful.
Wow. Um, this is really great stuff, and I really appreciate you sharing it. I think a lot of our listeners are going to very much resonate. And how can people reach you if they'd like to coach with you or see more about what you're writing and doing?
Yeah, I would love to connect with your listeners. They can go to my blog or my website, nextactforwomen.com. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. But if they can connect with me through my website and contact me that way, I would love to hear from them and look forward to it.
Thank you so much, Hélène. You have it's just talking to you. You have there's so many pieces of this. It sounds like it just feels really comprehensive as you talk about how you do this with people, how you do this with women. There's so many layers, and I can imagine sort of the evolution and what it would look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's really a joy. To be honest with you, it's a gift to me to help women, really get clear on sort of who they are, what they want, and how they're going to go get it. And so, boy, I mean, it is such a joy for me to take people through this process and through this journey and help them face some fears in the process, which always happens too. We all have some blocks that we need to address
Mm-hmm.
and come out on the other end just feeling so
Mm-hmm.
strong and empowered and fulfilled. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very rewarding work. I will say.
As a gardener, I just think of, seeing the blossom open a little bit more every day.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. There is a definitely an opening and a willingness and a joy that slowly gets released. And yeah, I mean, it is a gift.
That's lovely. Thank you so much for joining us
Oh, I was
today.
so glad to be with you, Nicole, and
Yes.
thanks for having me.
Okay. And I will put in your contact information in the notes so people can reach you. And we will see you next time.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
joining. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
bye bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. Please comment, rate me on iTunes, like, and share. I love to hear from my listeners. Send me an email at NicoleChristina.com and tell me what you'd like to hear more about. Want more zest? Head over to NicoleChristina.com/zestful aging, where you can find out about my online course, Zestful Aging: Simple and Sustainable Habits for Health and Longevity. See you next time.